Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What's up, guys? I'm Andres.
This is RB3.
And this is our full spoiler Joker review. RB3 is pulling out the Batman hat because Batman is his favorite comic book character. What? Is that what you said?
No. That's not my favorite. Nah.
But either way, guys, this is the very highly anticipated Todd Phillips Joker movie that everyone has been talking about since the Venice Film Festival, since it won the best film for the Venice Film Festival.
Yeah. High honor, because usually the best picture winners, all leading up, usually win that particular award.
This is the rare breed of a comic book movie being guarded as a award-worthy movie or an Oscar-winning movie or an Oscar-baiting movie, whatever you want to call it. This is the hybrid that we're starting to see nowadays after movies like Black Panther that got nominated for Best Picture. Here come a wave of comic book movies based on comic books, which makes it a comic book movie. Sorry, guys, it is. That is reaching for awards or attempting to get awards. I think that's the first thing that people want to see from Joker. And I don't know, RB3, I want to hear if you think that's what it's going to get, because I want to hear your general thoughts on the movie, if it has that quality of an award-worthy movie.
Listen, I don't know about awards yet. I don't know about all of that. First, I just kind of want to get into the movie first. Like, let's talk about the movie. The movie itself, I think, is I really dug it. I'm a big fan of the genre bending. I'll talk about that on the podcast, podcast that we're on. And what I'm a really big fan of is mixing an older genre like noir, or in this case the 1970s, particularly Martin Scorsese movies, is what they're really kind of trademarking here.
Heavily.
Mixed with the superhero origin story, and kind of flips it in reverse. And I think the movie works really, really well on both fronts. I think it works really, really well as a Martin Scorsese homage and as a super villain origin story. You know what I mean? For me, I didn't really realize who this Joker character was until the end, until he fully embraced like the makeup, and then he went on a little. This is a spoiler review, by the way, people.
Full spoilers, guys.
Full spoilers. So just going into it. When he goes on the show with Robert De Niro with the Robert Murray character, it wasn't until he started talking then and I realized, oh, okay, this is the Joker, and this is the path that it led to. So it felt like a really good origin story and akin to like Batman Begins, mixed with a genre that I really like, the 70s Scorsese, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver,
King of Comedy.
Yeah. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's, and that's not Scorsese, but same era.
Do you feel like there's already a lot of people saying, and I'm sure you've heard the takes, guys, so it's not like you're gonna, hear anything new, but there's a lot of people saying that this is not a homage, it's more a ripoff of Taxi Driver or a ripoff of King of Comedy. Would you agree with that?
I don't know about rip-off. I think a lot of movies rip off a lot of other movies. I think that Tarantino's made his entire career off of doing that. I think Marvel movies, you could say in some things that Captain America Winter Soldier is not an homage to the 1970s political thrillers. You could say it's a straight rip-off too, to some extent, once you catch enough for the references.
Yeah, but I feel like I can counterbright you with saying there's not a stalking scene in Captain America Winter Soldier that's exactly like the stalking scene from other. You know what I'm saying? Like there's beat by beat, scene by scene, certain moments in those movies, and this movie, the Joker movie, that are kind of exactly like Taxi Driver. Versus like, it's inspired by 70s spy thriller, but it's still Bucky Barnes and Winter Soldier and an action scene.
Listen, this gets no points for like originality.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
It's an archetype. They utilize two archetypes. They use the exact archetype from Taxi Driver and from Mean Streets and from King of Comedy as the character archetype, and then they use the story archetype or the myth of the origin story. And we're in the very we talk a lot about postmodernism, metamodernism. We're in very much an era that likes to explore the backstory, the origin story of characters. And we've seen other supervillain movies they tried to do, like Venom, one of your least favorite movies.
That movie was awful.
Yeah. But you see how it could go terribly wrong, and I think this is an example of how it could go not terribly perfect, but in a really great direction.
Sure. My follow-up question to you is that obviously there's a lot of backlash surrounding this movie, and most of it is unnecessary. If I'm being real honest, I feel like, like this conversation around like this movie's bad, and most people who said that haven't even seen the movie. No. However, there is an interesting conversation to be had about the whole movement that's going around in the United States right now that has actually led to real life violence, which is why people were kind of afraid about this movie, about like this incel, I guess it's the word they're using, culture. Is this incel the movie? Because I can't lie, bro.
Yeah.
This is incel the movie. I'm gonna answer my own question.
Yeah.
It's incel the movie.
It's well, I don't know about incel. I think incel is a very derogatory term, but I think what.
Well, in what sense?
I think what the movie is overall representing is a political shift that the overall country is going through.
Sure.
Like the character of the Joker himself is an incel, is a kind of white supremacist. Kind of, I mean that is the archetype that they take from Taxi Driver and from those other characters. Those characters are also white supremacists, angry dudes, internalized mental illness that are going to lead to violence. Like that's who those guys are.
Sure.
But what those movies explore and what this movie explores in Access is that instead of in Taxi Driver where it's pimps and dirty prostitutes that are the bad guy who he ends up killing at the end, this movie is bankers, it's executives, it's people from the upper class, and it represents a movement from the poor trying to take over the rich. So it exploits class differentiation.
See, that's the thing they try to sell you at the end, but I kept going back to Zazie Beetz. Mm-hmm. I mean, he killed Zazie Beetz, fam.
Yeah,
like you killed a girl that you liked didn't like you back.
Yeah. No, that's
not. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not anti-class, or that's just incel. That's just an angry white dude who wanted to get some booty.
Yeah, well, the Joker character is definitely the Joker character.
And the girl was like, "Nah, you're crazy. I don't want your I don't want to be with you."
She didn't even
realize he existed, right? She didn't even know who he was. But he imagines this entire story of him being like this hot shot with this really hot chick, because Zazie Beetz is incredibly beautiful.
Right, of course.
And it's one of those things where like he ends up killing her because he had a crush on her and she didn't even know he existed.
Right.
Like that's incel the movie.
Right.
So
is that a criticism or?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But for me, it's one of those things where it's like that. I get that. To me, that's the one not criticism, but that's the one commentary on society where I'm like, yeah, that is very much incel.
But then we also have to say, like, why are we worrying about this when we've seen American Psycho?
We've seen those
90s,
a lot. That's true.
We've literally seen this type of movie, and we just saw Nightcrawler come out in like 5 years ago.
Nightcrawler was incredible.
Yeah. And I think this is incredible too. I think they both take from the same influences. This one takes a lot heavier from Taxi Driver than Nightcrawler does.
Sure.
But it takes the influence from that kind of character. So.
Sure.
But I think for me, what differentiates this movie from the 1970s counterpart is the exploitation of class, and I think that's a common threat we've seen throughout cinema throughout 2018 and 2019 in particular.
Then Joker is the hero.
Joker
at the end of the movie.
He, in the same way that Batman in 2008 and 2005 had to represent the symbol of good, this is like a complete opposite flip. Now people are so pessimistic in America and in the world in general that this movie at least is implying that the bad guy can become the symbol just as well. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's really kind of a meta kind of concept when you think about it, because at the end when it's revealed that the person who killed the Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne's parents was really somebody in a Joker mask. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, you think about it, back in 1989 when the original Batman came out, the Joker himself was revealed to be the killer.
Sure.
And now in this era, it's kind of redefining that 30 years later as somebody who was inspired by the Joker.
But at the same time, I kind of like that. I mean, because it's the most comic book thing in the movie. Maybe that's why I liked it. Yeah. But it literally is straight from the comic books and from every Batman movie you've ever seen. That scene. But in a way, if someone asks you who killed Batman's parents, it still is the Joker.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, that is himself being manifested into another human being, as someone who's so inspired by the Joker that they're literally wearing a Joker mask.
And people are, and that's
so in a way, I was like, that's kind of cool because the Joker did kill Batman's parents in a way.
Right. And this whole idea of the symbol was a real recurring theme in the original 2008, the original Dark Knight trilogy with Christopher Nolan. But back in those times, I feel like people were just a lot more optimistic, a lot happier. Somebody had an incredible meme I saw where in 2013, the number one song was Pharrell's Happy. In 2018, the number one song was XXXTentacion Sad. You know what I mean? It's a complete opposite.
That's so funny.
So it's like now the hero is the symbol, where that represents the hero as the symbol.
Sure.
This represents the bad guys.
But can I say one thing though that's even more interesting to this point? And again, this isn't necessarily a criticism, it's more of a commentary. How his inciting violent act when he kills the three guys in the subway is what essentially breaks him out of his shell, gives him all this confidence, makes him realize who he really is. That's the inciting factor, is violence. And how violence is used as a way to, almost like his super juice or his like origin, like radioactive spider for Spider-Man. That's his radioactive spider. It's killing three dudes. And with by the way, John Wick type aim. I was like, yo. He was like, psh, psh,
psh, he was ready for it.
I was like, bro, who taught you how to shoot like that? That takes practice. I know this.
Yeah, man. I mean, you really see, particularly the eyes that Joaquin Phoenix was like playing on.
And we'll get to his performance for sure. But what do you think of that? Like violence being his like I said before, radioactive spider or whatever the origin story is.
He's a tortured guy, and and that is something you would kind of expect from a Joker origin story, honestly.
But it's one of those things where like violence is cool. Violence gives you power. Violence charges you up. It gives you Super Saiyan strength or Hulk strength or gamma radiation. Again, whatever origin story you want to add to it. Violence and murder is the key.
I mean, it's the same thing with Deadpool too, right? Like Deadpool, he's inspired by violence. 100%. He loves violence. Like Deadpool, by the way, a lot more violent than the Joker. 100% more violent than what this movie is. The way the reviews were coming out of the film festivals, I thought he was gonna like eat a baby or do some crazy. I
can't lie. Like, almost finished with the movie. I was like, where's the violence? But I kind of got it. I think it's the scene where he stabs the homie with the scissors, which by the way, I can't lie, as we were talking about all this violence and all this shit, is the funniest scene in the movie.
With the little person. I
was like, that's mean. And then when he was like, hey, Arthur, can you open the door for me? I was like, okay, that's funny. That was actually.
That's a Todd Phillips moment.
That was actually kind of funny. That's the only funny scene in the movie, in my opinion.
I thought, and when he walked into the exit glass, when he like.
That was kind of funny, and also when he's dancing and the cops are looking at him like, like, is this guy really dancing right now?
By the way, are these
that was kind of funny.
Are these two the dumbest cops like in movie history? Like, I don't know who else could have done it. Like,
but that's also kind of, in my opinion, holes. I think those are holes in the writing. If I'm being honest, I think that's a little too, like you said, convenient.
That
he just happens to be the dumbest cops ever. They happen to see him dancing in the stairwell, and they're like, oh, it's him. Wait, why is he dancing? What? All right, let's get him. And it's like, what is this movie? It turned into like The Hangover 3 or something. But yeah, that was a funny scene in the movie. And I actually laughed, even though it's like the most violent scene in the movie, I guess. That and maybe him killing his mom is probably pretty violent. Again, spoilers. Which I totally. Everyone. Can I give my criticism a little bit? Because I think this movie's really good. But I think it's very, if I'm being real honest, man. Predictable. Surface level. Very much like, here's what's gonna happen. He's gonna kill his mom. He was abused as a kid. Yes, he was. He had this thing going on. Yes, that's the case. Kills his mom. I'm like, yep. Zazie Beetz isn't real. It's not his real girlfriend. He's gonna kill. Yep, there it is. Like, it felt so surface level to me, where I was just like, I saw. And if I'm being real honest, and I know people don't want to compare the two, 10 times more density and thickness when we did the review of The Dark Knight, when we talked about the Heath Ledger Joker and how he represents evil and anarchy and chaos and being a genius, but a genius on the other side of Batman and representing everything that Batman represents as society, and getting all that in the Dark Knight movie with Christopher Nolan than I got from this movie.
Well, you know
if
why?
I'm being real.
You know why you get that? You know why you get that, Ace? Why I think you get that, and why I believe that too. That you get that same kind of sensation, is because The Dark Knight went out of his way to not tell you anything about the Joker.
Sure.
So you kind of have to piece together his MO with your imagination, with your own mind.
Yeah.
This movie outright tells you everything, and that's probably my biggest criticism of the movie.
Yeah.
I wish they would have.
He was abused as a kid, and that's why he's crazy. And it was just like
that scene.
Sure.
That scene.
Cool.
That scene, and I think. The scene that was kind of flagrant to me was when Zazie Beetz comes back into the apartment, and then they have to do the whole Fight Club thing where they cut to the flashbacks and then, show him by himself. If you would have just cut that little sequence out, like it would have been a little more ambiguous.
It would have been a little better.
And I think it would have.
Even though I got it right away.
I mean, everybody.
As soon as she went, I was like, yeah, she doesn't know who.
Exactly. Everybody got it right away. But don't you think it would have foundered a little more discussion? I think that's. I think while the movie is great, I think the acting is great. I think the cinematography is great. I think the score is great. I just don't think that for one, the predictability factor, and for two, I wish they would have concealed a little more. I wish they would have went that little extra mile. This movie felt a lot more commercial than it needed to be, and. To me, I think a lot about when you watch those old, like, Taxi Driver or Raging Bull, they'll just have long 2-minute takes of just Robert De Niro just fucking around in the room, you know what I mean? Just throwing shit, punching walls and shit. And this movie had those kinds of scenes, but it cut like every 2 seconds, you know what I mean? It just felt like something a studio product would produce as opposed to the raw, gritty 1970s movies that inspired it.
I agree wholeheartedly. This movie's score is amazing. Cinematography, Joaquin Phoenix is incredible.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But the story itself to me is so surface level, to the point where I'm like, I don't think I can grasp the level of hype this was reaching. And it might have been the hype that kind of killed it for me, to be honest. If this was like, this is gonna win Best Picture, it's the best movie of the year by far, it's the best movie of the decade, and I was like, okay, cool, let me see it. And I was like, oh, not quite. It's great performance, but it's so surface level as far as like, I was beat as a kid and now I'm angry and I didn't get the girl. Oh shit, I killed my mom. Like, I've seen this in 20 different comic books, and it's funny how this movie is like not a comic book movie, and I've literally read this story in dozens of comic books. Literally, like just scene by scene, I was like, yeah, this is a comic book.
Well, it's also the common like going crazy storyline.
Yeah, one bad day, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I get it. And that's why for me, I was like, it's really good, but it doesn't have that punch that I wanted.
I mean, like to me, for me, it probably is on the better side of the movies for me to come out this year. I mean, I think it does take risk. I don't think it takes enough risk, but it takes a risk that I think no other superhero movie has really, or no other comic book inspired movie has really tried to take before.
Sure.
So I dig it on that level for sure, and I dig the themes that it's going for. I dig the acting. Like I said, cinematography, it was amazing. Score is absolutely breathtaking, and as a piece of text, as a piece of like film to discuss with people, I think it's really good on that level.
Yeah, it's very interesting for sure. I think the best word is interesting for me, and pretty good as well. That's the word I would keep throwing around. Pretty good.
Yeah. Very deep racial tension in this movie too that we could talk about in the meaning of.
Oh, absolutely, and we will. So make sure you guys tune in to the Meaning Of podcast, where we're gonna get a little bit more into this movie, a tiny bit, not too much, because I feel like we got the most out of it right here in this review. But we'll dive back into the Meaning Of, because we're gonna do a Todd Phillips episode.
Yeah, Todd
so
Phillips.
Make sure you guys check that out. If you don't know, guys, we have a podcast called The Meaning Of. It's gonna be right here on this YouTube channel, so make sure you check it out. It comes out every Thursday. It's gonna be on this channel, and you can check that out to hear more of our thoughts on this movie. Can I just give a side thing?
Yeah.
He's a pretty good dancer. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's weird dancing, but it's like a weird martial arts type.
Yeah, I didn't really get the dance. I don't know.
I was like,
I love the laugh though. By the way, the laugh
is pretty good,
and it was a good subversion of the laugh, because usually the laugh is like I love killing people, but in this movie he's like
in pain. It was interesting for sure. Yeah. Alrighty, guys, that's our review of the Joker spoilers. Let us know your thoughts in the comment down below. If you don't agree with us, that's okay, but you can leave a genuinely positive comment.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I did too. I did enjoy it. I just didn't feel like it's like the best movie of the year or all this hype or Oscar and all this stuff that I felt like not quite for me. Just a little too surface level. But either way, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. You can follow me at Squad Leader Race.
You follow me at Director RB3.
And we will be peacing out. We'll see you on the Meaning Of. Peace out, guys.
Send in the cloud.